And you're live, Sarah. Oh, Sarah? Uh-oh. No! Hello, everyone. I think we might have lost Sarah. Oh, there you are.
I may have pressed a button that
Oh,
I should have
no.
pressed.
Right when we decided to put you on live.
Just in time.
Hey, everybody! Are we good to go?
We are good to go.
Awesome! Well, hey, welcome to the Renegade Society radio show. I am Sarah Erickson. I am here with my good friend Jonathan Ying, who
Hi,
is
everybody.
going to be joining us. Yay! How are you, Jonathan?
I'm doing good. Holding up all right. It's been, the weather's been nice, ish. A little gray. I don't know. It's fine. Hi.
So we really wanted to chat with you today on our radio show because we just barely announced something pretty exciting that you've been working on for a long time. Mm-hmm. So we want to chat a little bit, although everybody knows you from all the fun stuff that you make for us for Power Rangers. We want to chat about Bargain Quest today. Does that sound like a good plan?
My other baby.
Your other... But before we get to Bargain Quest, how have you been doing? Have you been playing any games?
Let's see. I've been playing a lot of video games, not gonna lie.
That's fair.
I've been organizing a lot of playtests with a lot of playtester groups and sort of keeping up with them and playing my games vicariously through them. Several groups are like with friends or like are groups that play with their families a lot. So like I've been, getting reports from them and talking to them. Oh, how'd this go? Oh, was this fun? With some of the upcoming content that I definitely can't talk about. On the other hand, I've also been, I play a lot of Destiny, and I've been playing the new Final Fantasy VII remake, which I've been having a wonderful time with that. And yeah, I've been mostly just getting excited about new and upcoming things.
That's awesome.
Oh God.
Oh man.
There's so much that I want to talk about, and some of which I can't talk about. But now I can talk about a little bit that I've been wanting to for a long time. I just have to not go too far.
So we are going to give away little tiny spoilers at the end for our Power Rangers fans. But like I said, we did want to chat a little bit Bargain Quest. So we just announced yesterday we are going to be putting out later this summer Bargain Quest Sunk Cost. So it's a new expansion, same size as the Black Market expansion. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what Sunk Cost is? Yeah. What's cool about it?
Unfortunately, it was down to the wire. The digital print copy of Sunk Cost was supposed to arrive today, but due to the current state of things, FedEx got delayed. So in the meantime, this is the Black Market expansion, it's going to be in the same box size, but it is like twice as heavy. Because while the Black Market expansion was mostly card-based, Sunk Cost adds a whole bunch of tiles, which use like punch board. So it's going to have basically 6 sheets of punch board about this size. To add an entirely new game mode. So Bargain Quest traditionally, for those of you who don't know, Bargain Quest is a game about running an item shop in an RPG town. So the players take the role of like the shopkeepers. This is the latest box for the latest edition that I'm really excited about. But yeah, the players will take the role of shopkeepers in RPG towns, and they will stock their shelves with various items and try and sell them to heroes and hope the heroes don't die fighting monsters. And the goal of the game is, of course, to make the most money and to have the most successful shop. It's doing quite well, but the base game is basically a drafting game where if you've played Seven Wonders or Sushi Go or even Magic the Gathering, you may have heard about how drafting works, where you have a hand of cards, take one, pass it along. Sunk Costs completely changes the drafting mechanic. It is a slightly more strategic style of drafting. And I forget the name for it, but I think I first encountered it in a game called Zularetto. If any of you have played that, it's not. It doesn't get a lot of buzz these days, but it's quite neat. And the way it works is that you have a bunch of boats that are available, and instead of drafting item cards from a hand, you're going to load those cards onto these boats. And on your turn, you can either load more cards onto a boat, or you can claim a boat that has cards on it. So you basically have to decide whether you want to make the boats nicer so that in the future you'll be able to pick out a nicer boat, but your friends might scoop up what you make, the boats that you fill up with items. It has been playtested super well. I'm really excited about it. It really kind of makes the game, like, refreshes the whole game. It kind of, if you've played, like, a bunch of our testers who have been playing Bargain Quest for literal years now, are now playing it a lot more casually, like, on their own, just because it feels so much more fresh and new and exciting to have this new mechanic, which is really invigorating for me personally.
But Jonathan, you forgot the most exciting part about it.
Did I?
Pirates!
Right, there are pirates. What's funny, actually, so awkwardly, none of the hero cards that are added, which are all nautical themed, we've got pirates, we got sirens, there's like ghosts and sea monsters, all sorts. The whole thing is nautical themed because sunk costs. We really wanted to commit to the joke. My partner thought it was a little bit cheeky to name an expansion product after the sunk cost fallacy.
It's fantastic. I love it. I'm also married to an economist, so.
Well, so you're here for it. Yeah. One of my favorite things about it is that we got to play with a whole bunch of nautical themed stuff, like pirates. We got buccaneers and captains and all that. What's funny though is that we could not actually include a hero card that was just a pirate, because in the Chaotic Goods pack we have a pirate already.
That's
and so
true.
we didn't want,
yep.
like, a second card with the same name, even though that, like, so yeah, we went with other kinds of pirates. There's a privateer, there's a marauder, there's a captain. They kind of mix up the gameplay in different ways. But if you want the full pirate experience, Chaotic Goods will have your back on that front.
All sorts of fancy pirates in this one.
Yeah. Oh god, we got cool pirates, we got cool ships, we got new item cards as well, like, you know, blunderbusses and tridents, and like the art came in so wonderfully. Like, we got you can see on the website they show some of the ship art, which is done by Lil Chan and colored by Lisa Pierce, who are both phenomenal illustrators, and they're so beautiful. Oh god, I'm so excited.
Yeah, we did share some of the artwork, like Jonathan said, both on our site, but then also on our Instagram page today. We did some Art Friday, so definitely go check that out. The art in it is really beautiful. I can't wait to get my hands on this one and actually play it, because it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, so also another thing that we announced, just so everyone's aware, is that we also made a promo board for this. Mm-hmm. And if you get that promo board, it's a special shop. So when you start the game, you always open up your shop, which unfolding the board, and then you get to set that up. Oh, do you have one? That's exciting.
Yeah.
So everyone who pre-orders,
Jonathan, the blur on the screen is kind of obscuring some of the stuff you're showing off. I guess for some people. Hang on,
I think it's the same setting. Let's see.
So while Jonathan's fixing that, if you do pre-order this, you get the board for free. And we had some people asking, our international fans were wondering about it, and we're going to be sending this even to our distributors. So please support your friendly local game store. This game is all about supporting your friendly local adventuring shop. So support your friendly local game store. You can go order from them, and you'll still get the promo board.
The base game board, which I think we still have a few of, that is a game shop, which was one of the fun things we got to do for the original Kickstarter, was a promo shop board. So this is one of them, but one of them that we have. I don't know if I actually have one here, but I don't need to go digging for it. One of the promos is just a game shop, and don't question why it's selling swords and knives. It's fine.
So I own a game store, and it's not that unusual for people to want to buy swords and knives from us. So that checks out. I think that was a good call. So yeah, that is actually up for pre-order on our site right now, but it doesn't come out until September, so you'll have to wait to get your nautical themed piratey goodness on with Bargain Quest. But we will be getting a reprint of the base game back in stock in May, and we have all the other expansions. So I am pretty excited that we have some more good stuff to go with that, because I really love Bargain Quest. It's one of my favorites in our collection. Yeah, it's exciting.
It's a really fun game to work on. Like, it really speaks to a lot of the things I like about RPGs. Like, when I play D&D, I always love, I'm the DM, so I always love playing the shopkeepers and the all the various NPCs, and I think I want other people to experience the joy of sending adventurers off and hoping they live.
So
And if they
I
die,
did
no refunds. It's fine.
no refunds. I love that part. So I did actually have a few questions about Sunk Cost specifically for you. So where did you get the idea of the bearded siren?
Oh, so that one was a fun one. We are always trying to have high inclusivity in our games. We want to kind of mix things up. Um, we want to do a variety of different cultures and characters represented. We don't want to pigeonhole any of the adventurers to seem like, yes, this is just a normal rogue, right? So we make sure to have a big variety of different, races, genders, all these things in the game. And the sirens in particular, when sort of designing them, we didn't want them to just be like, oh, hey, it's a bunch of sexy mermaids singing on a rock. We were like, okay, let's mix it up. Let's make it a little different. And when the artist, I suggest hey, you should make sure that one of them should be a dude, and that would be fun because we never see male sirens, but I feel like they should exist. They seem fun, and so we have one of the sirens on the card is just this big bearded merman who's just having a great time singing. And
we need more singing mermen in our lives.
Someone in chat is saying that they're surprised there isn't a Power Rangers themed promo card for Bargain Quest, like the Saba sword, for example.
I mean, listen, if we want to go into that licensing situation, we can talk to Scott. I'm not opposed to it personally, but we'll see.
This sounds like a Scott problem. I like it.
Send all your questions to Scott.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Message Scott. At the moment, we've been kind of avoiding doing sci-fi themed stuff. There's sort of an element of there's an upper limit to the amount of stuff you want to add to a fantasy game to keep it feeling fantasy and not just get odd. Some games like Munchkin can really get away with going kind of buck wild with that sort of thing. But as Renegade did with Clank, when they wanted to do Clank in space, they didn't just add ray guns to regular Clank. They kind of have it as its own siloed setting and stuff to keep it consistent and to feel kind of tonally correct. Because sci-fi and fantasy kind of have different flavors. Also, the different classes are a whole thing. I think originally Bargain Quest was not meant to be fantasy themed. Sort of. When I first came up with the mechanic, before I decided to make it about fantasy shopkeepers, it was actually about you run a kiosk in a mall, you're just running a clothing store. And that was it was cute and kind of was a fun theme that you don't see often, but it led to this weird thing where we wanted the different items to be sort of linked to different kinds of patrons. And it felt weird saying, oh yes, only these kinds of people want to buy those kinds of clothes. That felt very yes, this is a goth clothing for only goth people, which didn't quite feel right. So when it was well, what setting are people oh yes, only this kind of person will purchase this kind of item? Fantasy settings, of course. Only wizards want spell books. Only fighters want swords. It can be a lot more. We have a lot of mechanical history of that sort of class segregation.
It's true. That is weird that it doesn't
really well.
It doesn't feel weird when you talk about it in a fantasy setting like that. It does kind of fit and make sense. Because if I'm a paladin, I'm not going to be wearing leather. That just doesn't work for me. So I totally get that.
Science fiction, right? It's Jedi still use blasters. Luke has a blaster. So you can't. Yeah, it becomes a little harder to make those defined class segmentations.
So if there were another whole setting that you wanted to do with Bargain Quest, or really just any game, is there a setting that you think that would be really fun just to jump all the way into?
Oh man, I think so many good D&D campaigns, and we've kind of done a little bit of this with one of the expansions digs into Table Titans. There's a little Table Titans pack. There's Acquisitions Incorporated pack that we did with Penny Arcade. I think we've gotten a lot of requests for to go into things like Critical Role and Adventure Zone, just other kind of still fantasy themed settings. And it's really giving us a huge amount of mileage out of that. I think the game could go with you could see a big overhaul of the game going into some other setting, but right now it just that fantasy archetype seems to fit really well. So it's more looking into things like, well, do we want to maybe like Name of the Wind would be one I'd be super excited about because like I love that novel. Let's see, like if we want to go like high pie in the sky, we probably don't have the licensing deals for these things. Things like Game of Thrones or Dresden Files. Like there are all these fantasy series that I love. That like, I mean, hey, call me if you're Jim Butcher if you're watching this.
Someone's saying a Critical Role themed Bargain Quest.
Oh, I would love that, but I don't know. They're very busy people, the Critical Role folks. Like, I'm super excited for the animated stuff they're doing. Oh man,
they've definitely got some good stuff going on for sure. That's awesome. So here's one other question I have for you. What is your favorite hero you've made for Bargain Quest so far?
Ooh, I think certainly the hero that I think has gotten the most mileage in the whole game is the Nobleman. Like, definitely the Nobleman feels the most funny and sort of the most gets the most thematic brownie points for being this very silly character who is he's just a rich guy who shows up in town. He's got no class icons. He has no skills. His attack and defense are 0. And he's just got money. He's just got a whole bunch of money. And so all the shops are like, oh, yeah, we want that guy. And then they just sell him a bunch of stuff. And, like, maybe he lives. Like, sometimes, hey, he's bought enough money, he'll actually survive. Like, he's bought enough stuff because he can. But then, he goes on the adventure and only makes, like, the normal amount of gold for the adventure. So he comes back with just, like, no, all the items get discarded. So now nobody wants him. So he creates this great dynamic of being hyper valuable one round. And in the next round, he's, like, suddenly the one everyone wants to avoid. And that's kind of this interesting thing I found in designing Bargain Quest in general. Because originally, I was like, okay, I want to make sure all of the heroes are perfectly balanced in that, like, each hero has its own, like, value and they're all, like, equally good. And that ended up not being as fun because then it didn't matter which hero you got. It was always something like pretty good. So then I realized, so we can have the Witch Hunter like does a bad thing when they come into your shop. They like blow up all of your wizard items because they don't like magic because they're a witch hunter. Or like, the Nobleman, he's, if he comes back and he doesn't have any money, he's just like not a very good character. Making characters that are better or worse means that players are competing for them more, which drives a lot of the game's core mechanics of pushing your luck and trying to put a really good item in your window to get the best hero.
I think that's a really important note that you make about game design in general is that you can be the perfect mathematician and fix every single balancing issue in your game, but you take the fun out of it. There's nothing exciting when it's going to be exactly perfect every single time. That's not life. That's not what we experience. So I really appreciate that. I think that makes you a good game designer.
Well, I mean, I'm glad someone thinks so. No, there's a school of thought that I know a lot of designers who really like the very Euro style design, which is low variance, right? You want nothing but like good player calculation, and the decision you make in like round 2 will propagate into like round 27, like all of those things. And that's really cool and really fun. But it can lead to games that are like foregone conclusions, or like really hard to play with people who are new because you'll just destroy them because you know how to play. One thing I always focus on in games like Power Rangers or Bargain Quest is like there's got to be a bit of chaos, a little bit of randomness. You can't be certain of what's going to happen. Like there should still be enough player agency that your decisions do matter, but there are times when you just got to roll the dice, right? There are times when you just got to hope for the best. And then when it goes well, you cheer, and when it goes badly, you scream, and that is drama, and that is exciting, and that's what I like. That's what I'm here for.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think for me, historically, one of the most interesting games that's ever come out is actually Cosmic Encounters, because it was the first game that had player powers, and when you play it, you realize pretty quickly that not everybody is on a completely even playing field. And that just makes it, to me, more exciting and more fun because you do have to make these hard choices and go with the power that you have been dealt and do the best you can with it. Even if you're not going to win the game, I think it still gives you these goals that you can work towards. So I think that's just a fun, cool thing that I've seen a lot of other game designers take advantage of.
Absolutely. I mean, you said Cosmic Encounter, which got me super excited because that was like that was the game that got me into this stuff, right? That made me like, you can do that? That's like what it like blew my mind that you have this simple system and all the different powers, and like the realization that like, oh, some of the aliens are just overpowered, and they're just too crazy strong, and some of them like just aren't that great. But if you are an alien who isn't that great, no one's gunning for you. No one thinks you're a threat, so you can just kind of sneak in alongside other people and build up and actually like come from behind and win. Where everyone is constantly focusing on the big scary guy. Like Cosmic Encounter is like, oh God, Richard Garfield's a genius, and I'm mad about it.
I can see you almost jumping out of your chair when I mentioned Cosmic Encounter. I had no idea. But looking at the work that you've done, it does make a lot of sense. So before we transition, this is a really good segue into Power Rangers, because I feel like you took that design idea when you were making Power Rangers, but you made a cooperative game instead, which means that even though everybody has these different powers, and some may be better or worse depending on the situation, they're all going to be different, and they make everybody special, which I think is a really, really cool thing about Power Rangers in general. But I have so many more things I want to ask you about Power Rangers. But before we get there, before we totally are done with Bargain Quest for the moment, we want to give a copy away. So if you are in our chat in any of our different formats, so I believe we're on Twitch right now, YouTube and Facebook, just say hi. Just let us know that you're there. Type in the chat and hello, and then you'll get entered into a free copy of Bargain Quest.
Yeah, in the nice new big box. I think the original box, which I think is what you've got behind you, was the one we made for the Kickstarter way back when, and it was made to be like very compact. Like we didn't know if we'd have any expansions or like how well the game would do. So we're like, all right. And in fact, that was back when the game was originally only going to go up to 4 players, and so that box size was decided for that. And when we moved up to 6 due to a stretch goal, we were like, all right, well, I mean, do we have to make a new box? It's like, well, it all fits. And we liked how snug it was. But now that there are all these expansions and stuff, everyone wants like a bigger box, which is part of why the new current editions come out like this. And the old ones are now collector's items.
They are. They're very, very special, let me tell you. But yes, I'm glad we moved to the big one too. So we will be sending out 1 free copy of Bargain Quest to a lucky winner that Desiree is going to pick for us at some point.
I'm just trying to get everybody's name in there.
Awesome. So we will give people a chance to do that. Awesome. So yeah, I think we probably have a lot of your Power Rangers fans in the stream. Does that sound right, Desiree?
Who watches Power Rangers? Isn't that a kid's show?
Well, it's definitely a good one. We've all been watching it, that's for sure. How have the Netflix parties been going?
They've been pretty fun. I mean, we've been watching some good stuff. Right now I'm excited because there's a Beast Morphers special this weekend that I don't know how many of you guys have been following Beast Morphers. I know that it's been interesting seeing the Ranger fans and how some of them like keep up with the series currently, and some are just dyed in the blood. Like, hey, this is I am a Space Ranger fan. Like they watch original series and like just watch that on loop. And some people are like you got to do Dino Thunder, you got to do Wild Force. Like every time I go to a convention, everyone's got a different favorite season, and it's super exciting. But yeah, no, I've been excited. It's been fun.
I think Power Rangers was set up so well to have special player powers because you do get really connected to those different characters that are in the different seasons. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome because there's so many of them that you can make so many cool characters that all have different powers.
The expansion potential wild. Oh man. And, like, we are mining it. We are going deep. Like there is a lot. I purposefully made the game with a lot of design space so that we could have a big variety of enemies and rangers and whole bunch of ways of playing. And it's been something. Like I don't know how many rangers have we made so far, like 30 or something, like individual playable rangers.
Of these ones that you've made, which there are quite a lot of them, which one has been your favorite from a design perspective?
I mean, I intentionally designed Adam Park, Zeo Green, to be a playstyle that I really like. He is. I also kind of tried to work hard not to be too biased and like push him too hard on the power curve. So he's certainly not one of the most overpowered Rangers, which was kind of an intentional push that is like a little bit sad for me because I like being overpowered sometimes. But he is very fun to play. I love the tempo of him. I think Jason Lee Scott as Zeo Gold is one that's really special. When we came up with the idea of the Zeo Gold icon and the different ways to play with it, he became he's just so fun and dynamic to play with because he's kind of, unlike other Rangers, he sort of has the ability to dynamically alter the cards that are in his hand very actively as he plays them. So it feels very fun going for different cards. Yeah, I don't know. I've really enjoyed a lot of Ranger designs. I think when we made it so that the special defense icon was a star, that was done for the base game as like hey, this triggers on a special when you reveal a defense card. I realized, oh, hey, Zeo Ranger 5 has a giant star on his helmet. We should use that. And so I made sure this whole mechanic plays around that little bit. And that's just kind of a graphic design in-joke just for me.
And we all thought that was planned. Oh, well. So it seems like...
Just gotta do it.
As a cooperative game, you have to think about a wider range of players when you're designing for that. So has it been a challenge to design for both brand new players who have maybe never even played a board game, playing alongside people who are very experienced board gamers who have followed you as a designer, played Imperial Assault, played through Bargain Quest, all of these other games that you've worked on, and really know a lot about games, playing alongside their friends?
Yeah, I think definitely there was a big question early on in the design as to how casual to make the game, like whether we want this game to feel like a mass market game that you would get in Walmart that you could play with kids and family and anyone. And we did decide to aim a little bit on a slightly more advanced play level. I think like the recommended age is like 14 or something, 13 that we went with on Power Rangers. Wait, hang on, I've got a box over here. We got the recommended age of 14 and up. Which gave us sort of the personal allowance to like, okay, we are making this game a little bit more advanced, a little bit more complex. I still didn't want to make the game unapproachable. Like I always kind of want to be able to have new players come in. And I know that a lot of kids do enjoy the game. Like we've got plenty of playtesters being like, yeah, I'm playing this with my 7-year-old. And I'm like, that's a smart 7-year-old. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's it's cool. And I wanted to make sure that the game had, I think the best games have simple baselines, right? You want the basics and the fundamentals of the game to be coherent and understandable and simple so that you can layer on interesting mechanics and choices on top of that. That is kind of where you find depth. And so as I worked out, like, okay, here is the basics of the game, and they should be simple enough that really anyone who can, like, who plays games semi-regularly, I would say it's like, this would be a good thing to play after people know how to play a game like Catan, right? Like, this would be a good, probably wouldn't be a great first step into board games, but like, it's worked that way for some people. But I think for our purposes, we wanted it to be good on first blush and challenging. And then as you get new Rangers, as you play through, as you learn the decks, as you learn the characters, learn the systems and get deeper and more invested in the game. And then you can get these very advanced players who are like building custom decks in Legendary Ranger mode and, playing the advanced scenarios that we've been posting online on renegadegames.com. Check them out.
We do have a question, Jonathan, on Facebook from Zemmer. Do you think you'll do more expansions of characters that are joke characters like Bulk and Skull?
So it was interesting because as we released Bulk and Skull, while it was clear for some people that they were joke characters, some people just thought like, oh, I guess it's Bulk and Skull are in the game. That's weird. Why do they have us flipping cards and and like high-fiving each other? That was a little bit, some players weren't quite sure about that. And because we don't make the delineation the way Magic Gathering does for things like Unglued, where it's like, this is the silly expansion. That led to some messaging confusion for some players who were expecting a more normal expansion out of Bulk and Skull. But certainly people have had a lot of fun with them, and I think we certainly would not mind doing more sort of out of the box unusual content. Though that would certainly depend on which characters would be good candidates for that. I know I've got some personal thoughts, but we'll see how those fare when I present them to Scott.
What I really like about Bulk and Skull is that it does still fit in the Power Rangers world, because those characters were ridiculous and silly, and every time they show up, you know something ridiculous is going to happen. And so
song, right?
It doesn't pull you out of it doesn't pull you out of the Power Rangers experience. There are some serious things that happen in Power Rangers, but when Bulk and Skull show up, that's not what's going to happen. So I think it's great to always take advantage of those things, especially within something that people know so much about. We have so many fans who've watched every episode, who know all of the backstories, who've read all the comic books. So I think it's awesome that you pulled out some stuff for them that they're really going to be able to interact with and enjoy. So I want to see more of that too. Make it happen.
And I want Nick Norman to be able to do silly sculpts. Like, I love that, like, you can see the shorts sticking out of Skull's pants.
All right, so speaking of silly, we have another question. This is from Terry. What animal do you think would make the worst Zord? She had some ideas. She had baconodons, featherdactyls.
I mean, they made pretty bad Zords, although in the game, I actually made the Zords pretty strong, but like...
So what other animals would make really, really bad Zords?
I mean, you know, like, they say that, like, the Zords were intended to represent the most powerful creatures of their era in the new movie. But, I mean, I would lose a fight to a tiger or a bear. Like, I feel like, you know... Like,
so maybe
Nerd Zord would probably be pretty bad.
Yeah, what's the most powerful animal in your neighborhood right now? Because, you know, all the animals are coming back out, right? So maybe there's some big rats out there.
I'm Balboa Park, so like there's like a zoo right over here. I don't know. They've got all kinds. They got anything all of them would kill me. Like two of each one.
No.
You know, I mean, oh man, I think there's some fun. There's a lot of fun animals though, because it's like, you know, man. Like, I want to see Power Rangers delve into some of the wackier animals. I really loved in Hyperforce when they were like the Cerberus Zord. Like, you could, like, three-headed dog Zord is super awesome. I don't know, every animal I can think of is like awesome right now. I don't know.
Sloth, so it's not maybe be super powerful. They have scary claws though.
Big claws though, right? Like, you know, I want to see an anteater Zord. That would be awesome. Like, everything. Like,
someone said a sloth. A sloth or a goldfish.
Oh,
a goldfish sword, that would be challenging.
A goldfish sword warrior mode, I would not mess with that. Like, it would transform and then beat us up. Like, oh man, a capybara sword would be the cutest thing. Oh man, hell yeah. Like,
someone did say that Jungle Fury had a penguin Zord, which was kind of bad.
I mean, listen, I'm here for it.
Are you going to make a penguin Zord for us, Jonathan? Because I think that'd be sweet.
If we do a Jungle Fury expansion, I may have to.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like all the Zords. They're super fun.
Fury was wild. No, Wild Force was... sorry.
There's so much good stuff coming. Like, there's just so many Power Rangers things that need to happen. You're going to be busy for a long time. Oh, man. All right. What else do we have? Are there any other questions from the audience?
An anteater. Right, there was an anteater Zord.
Was there really an anteater? That's pretty impressive.
So we have a question from Fernando. He's asking, do you see or have a clear ending to the Power Rangers game? Example, do you think you'll reach a point where you believe you shouldn't add any more content?
Well, I think there's certainly going to be a limit of design space, right? Like, if we start having to reuse too much of the design, it might get rough. I mean, right now, we're kind of in it for the long haul. I think, you know, there's still plenty of design space left to be mined. Like, we've been actively avoiding, like, using unique tokens or whatever. But I think so long as fans of the game are still, like, you know, playing it and buying the expansions and enjoying the different characters and monsters, there's definitely plenty of meat on the bones. The big question is whether your shelf space can contain that much, right? Like, Here's the Grid already has like easily as much content as some other board games that do not last as long. Like as far as shelf life goes, Here's the Grid has already done really amazingly, and I really hope it can keep going. But I worked on Imperial Assault, and there was a point at which it was like, man, I want more Imperial Assault figures, but I don't have space in my house. There's an upper limit to the amount of shelf space that people have, and we aren't the only board game some people are buying, right? As long as we can avoid that event horizon of a shelf buckling, I am down to keep making new Zords and new characters. And at the rate we're going, we will not catch up to the main series for a good few years.
I would say Hasbro is doing some really, really cool new fresh stuff. So I feel like we've already been doing this for 25 years. Why would it end now? And it just seems to be getting better.
Yeah. I think it would be hubris to presume my game has the same amount of content depth as Magic the Gathering might. But I've been really surprised with how much new content we've been able to do so far already. The expansions I'm working on right now, we're doing some really interesting things with the system, and you could do very subtle things to make characters play really differently and feel really sort of fresh and unique with the system we've got. So yeah, I don't know.
Have you been playtesting with Matt Hyra?
A little bit, yeah. Though Matt has some of his own projects that we shouldn't talk about that I'm really excited about.
He does have some really cool stuff going on that people will be excited about soon. But yeah, Matt is a really great designer that we brought onto the team earlier this year. And I think whenever you're talking about how much life does a game have left in it, that's when you start thinking, who else can we bring in with some new, fresh ideas? And Matt Hyra definitely has some good ones. So I think that'll be exciting to see what other people can add to the game too, add to the awesomeness that you've started, and just sort of get it fresh and exciting for you as well.
Yeah, we've been, sometimes the playtesters come up with ideas which have been quite fun to see as if one mechanic doesn't work, they're like, oh, what if we did this? And it's like, ooh, if we did that, then we could mix that up. And it's been, I don't know, I love game development. And it's been kind of nice working, playing with this community and seeing, all the fans, playing the game and talking about it. It's been really cool being plugged in like this. That's been wonderful.
So just to ask, how have you been playtesting lately? Have you found any new sort of more exciting ways to get out of your house in a digital way to do some playtesting, or are you just doing it on your own for now?
I think I've been doing it a lot on my own. I've been doing some online games. We've set up some things on Skype to see if that would work. Some of our attempts have been more successful than others. I still haven't gotten super deep into Tabletop Simulator, though I know a lot of people really love it. There is a friend of mine is kind of working on this web browser-based sort of tabletop system that is I'm really impressed by, and I've been seeing him cooking that, so that's been really fun to play around in. We'll see how feature complete that becomes, but it's been interesting, certainly. Times being what they are, a lot of it has been theory crafting, a lot of what I've been doing, and also just playing independently. I tend to run. I've gotten really good at juggling multiple Ranger decks, and I am continually reminded why it is not something that I would necessarily recommend for a lot of people. The mental load for that is kind of intense. So I know a lot of our fans are doing, 4-player games playing solo. They're running all 4 Rangers themselves, and I applaud your mental bandwidth for that. That's a lot.
Yeah, that can definitely be taxing. Well, that's good. So you're still trucking along, making it happen. That's good. Yeah. I think it's been really fun for me, at least, to see how every different company, how every different person has taken this tough situation that we're all in and found creative ways to do what they still need to get done and be able to interact with people in the way that they want to. Even just having this radio show is great to be able to see our fans in chat and say hi to people. So I'm glad that we have all these tools. If this whole thing had happened 10 years ago, it would be a lot harder. So I'm very thankful for things like Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia and all those other ones.
And it's been really cool seeing like Renegade do, kind of online events and stuff for the people at home. That's been really fun.
Yeah, it's been good. I think that there's so much need for actual human interaction that's going to build up a little bit, and people will be really excited to be able to go back to conventions, to be able to go over to their friend's house, their friendly local game store. But for now, we're humans, we're adaptable, we make it happen. So it's been cool to watch that in the community.
Yeah.
So we do have time for just a couple other questions, and then we have a super secret surprise for everyone. But Desiree, any more?
Yeah, finding out who wins a copy of Bargain Quest.
I think I got everybody's name. I've been double checking. So, but we do have a few questions before we pick that. So let's see. Adam Holt asked, "How do you feel about people making up their own custom characters?"
Contractually, I'm trying to avoid looking at those because there can be some legal issues if, like, there can be some copyright issues if someone wants to accuse me of, like, stealing their idea or whatever, which I'm very paranoid about. And so I try to actually look at them. I think it's really cool that players love the game enough and are excited enough to design their own characters and scenarios. There's also the slight concern that we sometimes have where it's like, oh, if someone puts out, like, a Titanus Zord card, and then we put one out later, will people be confused as to which one is the real one? Like, I know, that can be confusing. I think custom Magic cards tend to have, like, a special note on, like, them all saying that they're, like, from MTG customization or whatever, like, to make it very clear that their watermark is not real cards. Because that can actually be liable for us, because, we license this from Hasbro. Like, we don't want to create that sort of confusion. So that I'm trepidatious about it, though I do think it's really cool. And I think it's a great way for people to get into game design. I think, like, kind of mixing up and coming up with your own ideas and evolving on pre-existing stuff is how a lot of people, and myself included, sort of first started thinking about game design problems and game design process. And I think that's I think it's super cool. I'm just nervous about, unrelated elements. So I don't generally dive into I don't look at the Facebook group. I think there is a Power Rangers Customs group that I don't really know too much about. But yeah, I hope they're having a good time, and I hope that they are not disappointed if, like, say, a thing that I make, like, if, I make a Zord that they had already created or a Ranger that they've already made, that they're like, oh, I like our version better. And it's like, okay, well, that's sad for me, but, people like what they like, and I encourage you all to, have fun, right? Like, I think house rules and customization is a big part of what makes board games really unique compared to digital games, right? Like, it takes a lot more work to mod, like, Skyrim than it does to just take out an index card and create a new monster in Power Rangers. And so, I'm excited that people love the game that much, definitely.
It's awesome.
Cool. And then, so we all know who your favorite Ranger is. On the other hand, do you have a Ranger or monster you really don't like and won't design?
Ooh.
Oh,
that's,
you have to answer that.
Never say never, right? Because this is exactly the thing that's to be like, what you should do? That thing you said. No. There's, like, a fire hydrant monster whose name I've actively tried to repress that, like, really looks like it's peeing on all the Rangers constantly. Not crazy about that one, not gonna lie. Let's see. I think I am sometimes weirded out. Let's see. I don't know. Like,
we love all of the Rangers and all of the monsters, right?
Well, all of them. Even, like, some of the seasons that, like, people don't like as much have a lot of really killer monster designs and really cool Ranger really cool characters, even if the season didn't quite speak to everybody. I don't know.
Well,
like,
I think sometimes you're supposed to not like them. They're villains, right? Yeah. Like, that's kind of the point. So, and they're so wacky. I love that they just don't hold back. Like, that's one thing that I've been super
just go nuts
about, is there's just anything that anyone could imagine is in Power Rangers, and that's awesome. It's like watching your dream.
I will say one thing that has been something I haven't been digging too much into on the design front. Battleizers. I think battleizers are really awesome, but they often emphasize one Ranger. Like, they're almost always the Red Ranger, who gets this cool special power armor that makes him the most important, best special ranger for the episode. And that like is one that I've been kind of wanting to put into Heroes of the Grid because I want to focus on the co-op element. And like certainly some characters have leader archetypes, and like Red Ranger Dragon Shield is as close to that implementation as I've gone into. But you know, making sure that a battleizer feels special without feeling like you are the most important ranger is one that can be a little tricky. And sometimes the battleizers just change the costume in a way that I find less cool. Like I think there's something really fun about the classic ranger outfits, and sometimes the battleizers can be a little much. And I don't want to tell Nick Norman to have to sculpt like all of the tiny angles on like some of the crazier battleizers. Like,
the detail is cool, but that would be harder to sculpt. Yeah.
And that would be tricky to sculpt and to get the mold done for. Like some of them, like you know, the Omega Rangers battleizer wouldn't be as difficult to do, but like the Dino Charged one, oh good lord, that thing. Oh god, anyway.
And then
Your Power Rangers question, a non-Power Rangers question for you after this.
Yeah, what we got?
So we have. I mean, I guess it's Power Rangers / not, but you've done Star Wars and Power Ranger games that are amazing. Do you have a dream IP you would want to make a game for?
Man, there's a lot of IPs I really love, and it changes time to time depending on what I'm like a huge fan of, right? Like, you know, I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2. I think Destiny would be really cool to work on. I think Godzilla is something that's really near and dear to both mine and Scott's hearts. Like, we love Godzilla, and so like that would be really cool. Like, I think
I went to the recent Godzilla movie with Scott and Jonathan, and it was pretty.
Oh, God.
You two were pretty pumped about it.
Anyway. Yeah,
that was wonderful.
Amazing. Yeah, I think I was a big fan of Mass Effect. Like, I think Mass Effect would be a cool IP to work on. I don't know if BioWare is even going to be doing anything with that in the future. I don't know. Like, yeah, I just there's a lot. I like a lot of things. You know, I've been watching My Hero Academia and Haikyuu, some anime stuff. I haven't worked on a lot of anime projects, so that might be a fun thing to look into. I don't know. Yeah, hey, if any of you are the license holders for those things, come let me know.
Those are all very big licenses.
Yeah, right?
But it's good to shoot the moon, right?
Yeah,
you know.
So I got Star Wars and Power Rangers. Like, I'm already so far ahead of the curve. Like, anything else is gravy. Like,
those are pretty huge. That's awesome.
Like, 9-year-old me is agog with shock. Like.
So one more very important question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hungry, and I'm probably going to go eat dinner after this, but I have very limited things in my house because I'm not good at cooking. What would be your number one quarantine cooking dinner that you figured out that you can make easily in your house?
Ooh, let's see. I've been watching a lot of Bon Appetit. I don't know if you guys watch the YouTube channel.
No.
They do the Bon Appetit magazine has a YouTube channel, and it's amazing. They have a whole bunch of different shows. We've been doing a lot of recipes from that. We did a chicken tikka masala recipe that they had, which was amazing, and thankfully our spice cabinet was conveniently arranged to be able to support that. So that came out really well. I'm doing fish tacos tonight for me and my partner. Yep. I think generally, like, otherwise though, quarantine, it's hard to go wrong with eggs. Like,
so I have infinite eggs because I have 7 chickens and they lay an egg each almost every day. So I've been giving away eggs to a lot of my friends I normally am gaming with. Instead of gaming with them on the weekend, I do a drive-by egg drop-off, and we set up Skype games. So
you know, that Haba game.
Hey, so okay, what should I make with eggs?
I mean, I really like Korean steamed egg. If you've ever tried to make that, it's actually really simple. It's basically about like 4 eggs and 1 cup, maybe half cup, I don't know. It's about a cup of chicken broth. Beat them all together, add some salt, add a little bit of scallion, and steam it. You steam the whole thing for about 10-15 minutes, and you get this nice, almost like very, like kind of a savory custard. It's this very silky texture. It's really good with rice. It's like it is the comfort food of comfort foods for when I was a kid, and like yeah, whenever I'm like feeling a little under the weather, I like cook this up real fast. You can find recipes for it online. It's like Korean Chinese steamed egg.
Steamed egg.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out. That sounds amazing. Cool.
Chicken broth, salt, and eggs. You can just make it. It's great.
That's good to know. I had egg salad sandwiches for lunch, so I can make some steamed eggs for dinner. Perfect.
Bacon and eggs for a good friend, and that friend is me.
I'll send you pictures on Instagram. Awesome. So, Desiree, did we pick our Bargain Quest winner?
Yes, so I did the random number generator. Everybody's name is in there, and so the winner is
random number.
Bernardo. I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm sorry, Bernardo Dewey Milan.
Which platform was that?
That was on Facebook.
Hey, Facebook gang.
Yeah, so Bernardo Milan. Hopefully you're still there and you've won Bargain Quest.
Yay! Yeah, exciting.
I hope they enjoy it.
Yes, we'll get that shipped out to you. We'll just send you a message and get your info, and we'll get that shipped right out. So the last present we have for everybody. So Terry has been posting some teaser pictures, a blurry photo of one of our villains from the Villain Pack 2. And we have an actual picture of a non-blurred version of this that we get to share with you. So
yeah, is this going up in the Twitch or it's going up in the screen? Like
yes, so it's gonna be going over you guys. Yes, it's taking over the screen.
Oh boy.
You ready?
Let me know when it's up.
All right.
There goes.
Ta-da!
So Terry was super cheeky about this one because she chose one of the art pieces that had a bunch of Rangers in it, so that the board was like really confusing with like all the colors and stuff. But yeah, like it's our boy.
Nice. Okay, do you want to tell us about him a little bit?
It's Louie Kaboom. So Louie Kaboom is one of my favorite Power Rangers villains. He's like, so I would almost call him the Starscream of Power Rangers. He was basically sent by he's like an agent of Rita and Lord Zed's, who was sent to kind of infiltrate and mess with the Machine Empire, and he ends up like kind of controlling it, like going rogue. He's like he's kind of crazy. He does a lot of stuff, but he's one of my favorite silly designs from Power Rangers because he's just a giant bomb, and he's gonna be a fun. He's a boss monster. He's going to be very fun to fight, and by fun I mean difficult. He is explosive and can some of his cards deal with a little bit of randomness. Some of his cards hit your deck in weird ways, but he is a high damage, high impact villain who is going to be one of the bosses in Villain Pack 2, which I think everyone knows is the Machine Empire.
So when is that coming out, Jonathan? I want to know a date.
That is great. When is that coming out, Sarah? I don't get to know these things.
Hilarious. So yes, we've not announced that yet.
All of you in the stands on Facebook. I'm not the person to ask about shipping, manufacturing. I just design here, okay?
So that is totally fair. I do a lot of the helping out with the handling of Kickstarter on the back end. So if you do have questions about that and you're wondering where your stuff is, I can certainly help you find those answers. But for now, as far as Kickstarter goes, we have not announced that date yet. So you all have to just wait. I'm sorry, including myself. And I will let you know very soon. We're working on those details now, but we're getting very close.
Yeah.
It should be exciting. So yeah, I think that's all the time we have for this evening. We are so glad that you took some time with us, Jonathan. It's been very fun to get to do a deep dive into Bargain Quest Sunk Cost, find out a little bit more about how much you love Power Rangers, of course, and find out what one of them is. Very exciting. And now I'm going to go make some Korean silky eggs.
Yeah. Oh boy. Let's all steam an egg tonight, everybody.
That's right. My fun Friday night activity.
Oh, everyone should share a picture of their steamed eggs.
That's right. That's right.
Weirdest thing to pop up on people's Power Rangers feed. It's like, why is it eating eggs?
Nice. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Desiree, for running this. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you all. Have fun, and we will see you again next week. Have a good. All right. Bye.